show. Today I'll be talking about Catalyst and how events and situations, scenarios, circumstances in our life give us an opportunity to polarize towards service to self or service to others. And service to others is something that we give away, we are transparent, we are loving and unconditional to people, and not so much involved with the betterment of my own situation, my own conditions, my own resources. I'm not so much concerned with the survival or my own pleasures or my own standing in society, as much as I am dispositioned towards my existence here on the planet, and I want to be of service to others, and I see myself as eternal, see myself as spiritual, and a consciousness that is beyond the physical. So, in service to self is much oriented towards the body consciousness, actually, the survival of it and its place in society and how it can attain the most resources and acquire what it thinks it needs for itself in order to feel pleasurable, feel good about itself. So often that requires taking resources from others and taking aid and benefits from others so that you appease and acquire for yourself. So the polarization that occurs during Catalyst, Catalyst is anything that can be experienced in your everyday life, whether it's, handing the toll booth guy the money, or, if it's something revolving a relationship, whether waking up this morning and saying I love you to your significant other, whether you are in a good relationship with them currently or not, or even at the grocery store standing in line. It could be anything. Anything is a catalyst for you to polarize towards service to self or service to others. And I have here in this diagram this trajectory, this timeline that you are currently on. You are an object in time-space that is moving in a certain direction because of the objects that have impacted you in previous time-space. So Isaac Newton says that an object will remain in motion until it is influenced by an external force. And this is correct to the extent that that external force is only a catalyst for you to choose what direction you want to go. And ultimately, there's only two common directions you can go, and they ultimately, all other experience commonly is divided and equalized into the two polarities, which is service to self and service to others. And as you go throughout your life and your trajectory, your timeline, you are impacted constantly by external situations and events that could potentially give you a emotional charge towards service to self or service to others. And if you live in cities, if you live in dense areas with lots of other people, you will experience catalysts much more rapidly currently, because we're in third density and the fourth dimension, which is on its way to the fourth density and fifth dimension. And without getting too much into that, the catalyst that is provided to you each day by the infinite intelligence that we are currently existing in, planet Earth and human consciousness, each scenario is designed to give you a greater experience of free will for you to choose through your own self-awareness that you have an ability to act on the thoughts you have, and the thoughts that you have are ultimately just an addition to what you can experience. And those thoughts that you have are not essentially at your core essence of is what you are, but how you experience life. Those thoughts are what condition your experience. So even though you are not your thoughts, you are not your emotions, those have are direct influences on your experience as an individual. And as you travel through space-time, and you identify as a separate body, as a separate entity, and that's the lesson of third density currently is, we identify as something separate from everything else, that we are not connected with everything else. But as we move into fourth density and fifth density consciousness, from where we are now, we can access the connection, wisdom, and love that we share with all other existing things, because everything that exists is God, is a portion of God. Even though it may seem separate from you, it is you. So, and the more that we go towards service to others, the more that we identify with this frame of reference, this trajectory. So once you establish yourself as someone who is no longer identified with what the self has to offer you, your own identity through, how you're going to survive and how you're going to please yourself and how you're going to appear in society and be that social role. When you no longer have any more really desire to explore those avenues, because hear me out, like those avenues of exploration are completely valid, and there's nothing that is lesser or greater than, or more nobler or lesser, of lesser ethical contribution to your own involution, your evolution. Just knowing that you are the one infinite and you are going to be provided for, and going on the faith and trust and unconditional love of the heart, you are able to bypass all those lower, foundational, they're foundational energy centers of survival, personal pleasure, and social interactions and social roles of the three energy centers below the heart, which is the reproductive organ, the sacrum, and the solar plexus. And the more that you are able to go in that direction of your chosen polarization, which is positive or negative, the more free will you have. The greater the polarization, the more confidence you have, and the more will you are able to sustain within your awareness and choose and decide your own reality. So we're seeing this happen on a real world context where, there's young people that are becoming extremely wealthy, and they're doing that through utilizing the resources that we have now in the internet and the web presence that they have, and this is polarizing them and their will to make the money and do the things that they want to do and feel the way they want to feel constantly, because they are polarizing in a much more accelerated rate. And that's because they are much more tuned to this vibration of the planet. Whether they know they are polarizing towards service to self or service to others or not is ultimately of no consequence, because Many people don't know this theology and don't share this belief, but they believe that they're helping themselves. They believe that they're helping others when when others are trying to garner and acquire resources and money for themselves and their existence, to have it as leisurely and abundance as possible. But if your sense of abundance and leisure and pleasure and joy and bliss and comfort is reliant on how much money you have in the bank account, or how much money or how much material possessions you have, you are not truly centered in your own consciousness, and the fact that you cannot shift your state of being based on your own reference point without the external objects. And I have here marked in blue on the service to self portion these objects that are going to on target to strike your current direction and your current timeline, which is ultimately, for the most part, most people are unpolarized. They don't know which polarization to pursue, or they don't even realize that there is a choice, that they do have free will, and that they can ultimately create their reality in each and every moment. So why I have these marked in blue is because oftentimes what we believe or perceive to be service to self or service to others, which is the blue, will actually be service to self. So, you can justify having a business, and I'm not saying this is good, bad, right, or wrong. I'm just saying that your consciousness is more oriented towards service to self if you are in business or in your place, or assuming a place in society where you are trying to amass the greatest amount of wealth you could possibly have for yourself. That is towards service to self, and that may look like service to others because you're helping others grow their own business and grow their own their own wealth. But depending on the degree and the intention, of course, this becomes very subtle. And I'm not trying to make this very black and white, because it's not so easy to point out what is of service or of the self, or of service of the others. It's not so easy if you are untrained in your ability to feel and recognize on an intuitive level what you are experiencing. So if you cannot be in touch with your emotions and be in touch with how you feel in each and every moment, it's going to be more difficult for you to traverse this metaphysical energy, this electrical charge of positive and negative. So oftentimes, if we're actually out for the service of others without being balanced, without being truly in tune with our own inner essence, then we will oftentimes do things that may appear to be service to others, but is actually service to self, and will move us toward the polarization of service to self. So, doing things that help you benefit in the way of making yourself more powerful in the public eye, and making yourself more prosperous and more on a higher status in your life, is going to much more be oriented towards the service of yourself. It's kind of self-explanatory in that way, but there's very minute variations and distortions that are somewhat complicated and are shadowy and are unclear on how they are actually serving others. And when you are unclear about how you're going to be serving people, then you're most likely going to be serving yourself, as a general statement and guideline. So as you move through time-space, your time-space continuum, you're going to be influenced by external events, circumstances, people, relationships, anything and everything. You're going to be influenced to make a choice, and whether you are thinking about, yourself and your own ability to be peaceful and be joyful, that is, in my own distortion and my own perspective, is the most important thing in your life currently, is to accomplish and constantly choose a state of personal peace, personal bliss and love for yourself, so that you can exude that and represent that, radiate it out to others, and that they can also have the opportunity to emulate and represent that for themselves. And that may look sometimes like it's service to self, and that's why I marked it red here on the service to others path, because what you may at first glance think of as being something that's selfish for you is actually going to be helpful towards others in the long run, because what you are doing is actually becoming more in tune with your personal vibration, your own resonance, and that it's polarizing you and becoming more aware of your own ability to be more psychic and more consonant with your own hearts, with your own center of gravity, and the place where you draw all inspiration and life force from. And the more that you're in tune with that place, this truth that you are, essentially a being of love, and that you are here because you want to experience unconditional love, and the more that you choose that, the more selfish it may seem, and the more service to self it may appear at first to be, because what you are wanting to do is ultimately go against the whole past and the whole programming of service to self that is from our previous society of like years ago, where people were, even still today, it's going raging, and people are living lives based on how they can best be a person in the world and acquire resources and possessions and material goods, and to keep themselves entertained and whatever. Those aspects are all service to self, and the more that you pull back from that idea that society has your back, and society has has the right kind of ideologies that you should be also going forward, stepping into, the more that you kind of get into this repetitive cycle of selfhood and selfishness and separateness, because to a great extent we all live extremely segmented and fragmented lives from each other. We rely on each other for to buy our goods and products and stuff, and that reliance is kind of taking away from others in the aspect that they don't need half of the stuff, more than half of the stuff, in order to live a happy and fulfilled life. But because their social programming conditioning, they think that they need others and others' products to make themselves feel good. So you see here that it's very intricate, and it's very subtle on how you are able to perceive what a given choice in a given thought will, or emotion will, trigger from catalyst, and it will ultimately polarize the triggering will polarize you based on your decision. So again, those choices that are seemingly of service to self at first glance will be service to others, because what you are doing now is taking your intention back into yourself and realizing what the heart of your own existence is, and realizing that you no longer want to play this game of power, of self pleasure and self-pleasing, self-satisfaction that is selfish and without any love really, or any real connection, and going forward into this place of survival where you are no longer considering how your actions and how your interactions with others is going to affect how they exist. And we see that through major corporations. We see that through huge multi-million-dollar, billion-dollar media, and all those pop stars and all that stuff. So anyway, going back, it's really important to know that even though you may think as someone who is very empathetic and empathic, sensitive, receptive, you may think at first that your choice, or the catalyst that is occurring in your life, that's having you have these certain thoughts, whatever catalyst, what's ever going on in your life right now that's making you really think deeply about what the right and wrong choice is, whatever that may be. It may at first seem to you to be, the right choice the right choice of essentially being unconditionally loving to yourself and therefore others, might at first be service to others because of our programming. And in order for us to no longer take our reference point or our intelligence from the memory of what we have, because God does not run on memory, life is completely spontaneous, and it is always authentic in its own expression. And the more sophisticated life becomes in its evolution, the more that it has a stronger ability to choose its spontaneity, not based around its social programming or its memory. And the more it can go away from what is known into the unknown, into this place of extreme imaginability and extreme boundless possibility. And ultimately, you're traversing new timelines and new probabilities and possibilities when you are entering into this realm of trust, faith, imagination, and involution, where you're actually not so much concerned with the external growth of yourself and your external appearance to others. You're more in tune with your internal spiritual growth as a soul, because you don't identify as a person. You don't identify as a ego or someone that is only stuck to the body, and it's the survival of the body. And to a great extent, there's a lot of really great people out there that are oriented towards service to others, but don't have this reference and don't have this knowledge to more focus their will and their energy and their intention to be of greater service. And they're just kind of teeter-tottering in between, and they're falling in this middle point in between each polarity, and not really choosing what they're going to dedicate each and every moment or each and every choice to. So we're seeing that a lot now, where it's accelerating and people are waking up at rapid rates, and it's occurring more frequently that people are becoming aware of and making connections out external in the external world. So this is wonderful, and this is allowing for the space to be created between thoughts and in the mind, for you to no longer be controlled and manipulated by the programming and your own thoughts, your own emotions. And this space is allowing for you to freely choose from a place that is wise and is unconditional, and it is ultimately spiritual. It is ultimately non-physical, this place that you're choosing from. So on your path to enlightenment, on your path, your journey through life and spiritual involution and physical involution, the more that you are capable, the more that you are actually polarizing from the catalyst that occurs to you in your life. That catalyst is in your life currently and will be there in the future, always to make you or give you a kind of opportunity to polarize towards either, and the choice is yours. So just know from personal experience, I've learned that at first glance, my judgments at first glance of what I should do is often based on what I already know. And oftentimes what I already know is not going to help me in understanding what it is I don't know already and what it is that I want to learn. So if we are to learn new things that we don't already know, then we have to go on a much more subtler, psychic, sensitive place, where we're not basing our decisions so much on the evidence and the appearance of what reality is and what situations appear themselves to be. Because if we take everything literally and take everything at face value, we are not truly being authentic to ourselves and our own vibration, our own standpoint, our viewpoint of our experience, and how we have control, complete free will to switch and to adjust our perception of the reality that we live in through the wonderful choice that free will presents to us and the awareness that gives rise to free will. All right. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys on the next one.